Hello. Today I want to talk about a pretty controversial topic that I see pop up in the community, like Reddit posts, HoYoLab posts, stuff like that, and that is C6 Bennett. I feel like C6 Bennett gets a lot of hate, and I'm just here to tell you C6 Bennett is excellent. I have been living it up with my C6 Bennett. Now, I'm not saying you should just straight up C6 your Bennett, not at all. Watch the rest of the video. Listen, I'm not trying to just like snatch you in to watch the whole video. You could, but I think just the main problem is there's a lot of misinformation, and maybe new players who are coming to the game hear talk about like C6 Bennett bad, C6 Bennett bad, C6 Bennett bad, it's bad, and then they just don't look further into it and don't think about C6 in their Bennett. So I think that people are just not informed, and the truth is that it's not like earth-shattering. I mean, I love it, it's amazing, but it's not gonna ruin your Genshin Impact experience if you've accidentally C6'd your Bennett or you did it without thinking about it and you're like, everyone says it's bad. It's like, it's not bad. In fact, in a lot of cases, it is very, very good. So I just want to talk about those situations, why you should C6 your Bennett and when you should not C6 your Bennett. Because some people, I totally understand you shouldn't C6 your Bennett. I get it. We'll talk about it. But before we get into it, don't forget to check me out on Twitch, twitch.tv/Meejin, M-E-E-J-I-I-N, where you can watch my C6 Bennett be the best boy in the world, and also hang out with me on stream and chat and stuff. But yes, into this controversial topic we go. It's not a big deal. Let me tell you why. Let's get into the video. All right, so right off the bat, what is C6? What are people talking about? Why is it quote unquote bad? Basically, sword, claymore, and polearm wielding characters inside the ult radius, fantastic gorgeous radius, gain a 50% pyro damage bonus, and their weapons are infused with pyro. So what this means is your auto attacks are gonna do pyro damage. The reason why people say this is a trap, why it's not good, why it ruins Benny, is because it essentially just makes him less versatile. So right off the bat, let me just tell you, when should you not C6 your Benny? If you want him to be 100% universal support, you should not C6 your Benny, because this will take his utility away from physical damage comps, Razor, Eula, physical Kaching, stuff like that. Or if you're running like maybe your Zhongli main and you want to do physical damage with your Zhongli because, you know, your Zhongli main, then yeah, his attacks are gonna become pyro, and that's probably useless on your, I assume, geo-built Zhongli. So in that kind of situation, you should not C6 your Bennett. If you want to not think about it and just throw Bennett in a team, then yeah, C6, not the best for you. Also, if you do a lot of co-op content, C6 can potentially ruin your co-op teammates' attacks because, for example, if someone's running a Eula and you have your C6 Benny, well, you just totally nerfed their Eula's damage because she's run on physical and now she's doing pyro. So in those contexts, don't C6 your Benny. If you're not sure, if you're on the fence, if you just think, man, I just want to throw him in every comp and not think about it, then yeah, C6 is probably not the best choice for you. But let me explain why it's also not the worst thing you could do, and in a lot of cases is quite nice. Let's talk about why you should C6 your Benny. Scenario number one, you want to run DPS Benny. I know that this is gonna be a small percentage of people are gonna want DPS Benny. I myself didn't realize that I would someday be running DPS Benny, but here we are. He's amazing. I love him. Basically, if you're running DPS Benny, C6 helps him because he is built on pyro damage, assuming you built pyro Benny. Then when he's in his circle and he's doing his auto attacks, he's gonna be doing great pyro damage instead of normal physical damage. So it's an improvement for sure. Basically, my Benny is slapping in his ult. He's doing amazing. He does great pyro damage because that's what he's built for. And because his ult uptime is almost 100%, he can be doing pyro damage like pretty much all of the time. And since that's what he's built on, it's great. I love it. I love DPS Benny. Now, I understand not everyone's gonna want to run DPS Benny. Most people run support Benny, possibly full support Benny without any sub DPS capabilities, in which case should you C6 your Benny? Probably not. You want to slot him into just about any team, not think about it. Don't do it. But let me explain why it is not necessarily as bad as you think it is. Number two, it does not ruin most characters. So I think one of the things that happens is that earlier game talk, like when the game first came out, is still around today when it comes to C6 Benny. So basically, back in the day, obviously we had fewer characters, and C6 Benny does ruin a lot of the gameplay of the earlier characters, specifically like physical Kaching, electro Kaching, Razor, those kind of characters, their damage is ruined. Something I don't see talked about a lot nowadays is that HoYoverse seems to be including a sort of like C6 Bennett blocker in a lot of their newer characters. In fact, pretty much every newer character. So you will see in pretty much every newer DPS character that's come out, you will see the sentence, "This cannot be overridden." Basically, that means that even though Ito is a claymore wielding character, when he is in Bennett's ult and he is in his ult form, he will still be dealing geo damage because his geo damage can't be overridden by Bennett's pyro. That's what that means. As you can see, Raiden Shogun, exact same thing, infused with electro damage, which cannot be overridden. I don't have Ayato, but it's the same thing, cannot be overridden. So basically characters like this, where they have an ult wherein they do whatever damage they're slated to do, electro, geo, hydro, whatever. Seems that Hoyoverse is aware, I mean obviously of C6 Bennett, they made the guy, they know, and they are building in blockers to the newer characters. So I am of the mindset that they are very purposefully doing this. You know, C6 Bennett exists. If someone has C6 or Bennett, that newer DPS characters that come out aren't going to be impacted by that C6. So I feel like that's something that's not talked about as much because everyone's still back in, you know, 2 years ago now, talking about, oh, it ruins everyone's damage. Well, actually, Hoyoverse is pretty specifically putting out newer characters that are not affected by C6 Bennett. So it's not as big of a deal, I think, as it was made out to be at the beginning of the game. I think nowadays it's just like not a game ender. Like if you did it by mistake and you're so upset because you feel like you ruined your account or something, you didn't. The newer characters coming out, they thought about this. They've included it. Don't worry about it. It's fine. It's not going to ruin a lot of your characters. I run my Bennett with my Geo team with Ito. It's fine. We have no problems in the game with the content. Don't worry about it. Now, another reason I don't think it's as big a deal as people think is because, yes, while it does impact any melee type character, bows and catalyst characters are excluded. So if you're like a diehard Tartiggles main and you're running the Tartiggles national team, Zhangling, Kazu, Benny, Tartiggles, it makes the team better. I will tell you that. I love running this team in Abyss. I think that people maybe who are just hearing don't C6, don't C6, don't C6, but they're newer players maybe don't know that fact, that it doesn't affect bows and catalyst characters. So yeah, all good there. The next thing I want to talk about with why C6 in your Benny is not the end of the world is because there are new characters now that fill the role that Benny could fill in a team. So for example, yeah, C6 Benny's gonna ruin like your Electro Kaching. If you're running, you know, if you're Kaching main, you're running Electro Kaching. Yeah, you can't buff her with C6 Benny. But Kujo Sara exists now. And if you had C6 Kujo Sara, crit damage increased by 60% for Electro characters, that is going to be better than Bennett, right? So as we get more characters, like more niche characters coming in to fill those roles, like Yunjin in a similar vein, buffing normal attack damage, part of what makes Bennett amazing is because he's such a universal support, and I get that. But if you want to see C6, there exists now other characters that can fill those roles and your damage will not suffer because of it. In fact, I would argue makes the gameplay more interesting because you're using a variety of characters. So it's not the end of the world. I understand the desire to fall back on Bennett always because I do that all the time. I love my Bennett, trust me. I myself am looking into building these types of characters so I can slot in different characters and buff my DPS characters without always having to fall back on Benny. You do have to think about it more, of course, but that's not a bad thing. Thinking about your team comps is not always a bad thing. Basically, the moral of the story is, I think that at this point in the game, C6 Bennett hate is not as justifiable. People are worried about future-proofing and Bennett being viable with whatever characters they come out with in the future. But again, I feel like they're building in C6 block to a lot of the newer characters. And also, as we get more characters, we're gonna get more support. More characters that fit very specific roles, maybe better than Bennett even could. So it's just not the end of the world. Now, for people who do want to C6 their Bennett, you're thinking about it, you're like, yes, I am down, I'm ready. Obviously, any Pyro DPS mains out there, your D-Luke mains, your Hu Tao mains, yeah, you're gonna get a nice, juicy 15% Pyro damage bonus buff. It's pretty good. Okay, so really quick, just to close off the video, I'm just gonna show you my Benny build and some of my favorite teams that I like to run. Before we do that though, here is my Benny build. I pulled a Mistblur just for him and we got very lucky with it, so hallelujah, Weapon Banner and I, BFFLs. Thank you, thank you. I do run 4-piece Noblesse. If you're running a DPS Benny, you could do Crimson Witch. I just have terrible Crimson Witch pieces, unfortunately. I just don't have Witch pieces that are comparable, so I'm keeping it on Noblesse for now. Here's his Flower, Plume, Sands as you saw, Goblet Pyro damage bonus, of course, and a crit rate circlet to balance out the Mistsplitter. Here are his full stats. The thing with the DPS Benny build is I like to keep his energy recharge up, so a lot of the artifacts we have to get heavy ER rolls while still maintaining a healthy crit rate and crit damage ratio. I'm always working on my Benny, looking for better rolls, but here is where he's at right now. I haven't been able to change the build for a while because, you know, it gets harder and harder the better pieces you get. So this is where he's at. Also, this is the build that I run no matter what role Benny is in the team. Benny heals fast enough that it's never been a problem, and with the Mistsplitter he gets the maximum attack buff that he can give, so I never switch it. And there he is, my sweet little boy. So stay tuned to see him in action. Okay, so just to quickly summarize, should you C6 your Bennett? It's up to you. I feel like really the point I'm trying to get at here is don't let the talk of like C6 Bennett hate dissuade you from doing it. If you're someone who's already thinking about it, if you've read into it, you understand what you're doing, and you really don't think it's gonna affect you negatively, then go for it. Live it up. You'll love it. However, if you want to use Bennett universally as a fully versatile support, don't do it. I'm just trying to make the argument here that it's not as bad as people say it is, and actually in a lot of situations it's quite nice to have. So that's gonna be it from me. Just a quick little video today, because I feel like people treat C6 Bennett like he's some sort of plague. He's coming to get you, he's coming to ruin your damage, ruin your teams. Like, not really. It's not that big of a deal. Like I said, if you're an earlier game player, you're hearing talk about this, and I'm sure in passing you've come across comments like, don't do C6 Bennett, don't do C6 Bennett. I'm just here to say it's not as bad as you think it is. Basically, all I can say is just know what you're getting into before you do it. And if you ended up C6ing your Bennett, you wanted to do it, or you did it by mistake, don't let people ruin your fun. Like I said, it's not the end of the world. People can really get in your head about like, oh, you made a huge mistake, but play the game how you want to play the game. If you like your C6 Bennett, then you like your C6 Bennett, and there's nothing more to it. Requires a little more thought in co-op, requires a little more thought with team comps, sure, but like I said, not earth-shattering, just a fun time if that's the fun you're looking for. Okay, anyway, that's it from me. Hope you enjoyed, hope you learned something, hope you learn to love your C6 Bennett if you don't already, okay? Don't forget to join me on Twitch, twitch.tv/Meijin, M-E-J-I-I-N. I'm so sick of spelling it, but I don't know, it's on the screen too, you can see it. It's also linked in the description. Anyway, thank you for watching. I hope to see you in the next one. Bye! Don't know why I spell it every time. I don't know, just what I do now. I'm getting hungry. I feel like I should eat something at this point.